Hello and welcome to Exceptional Undergrads, a podcast where we identify young adults that have achieved exceptional levels of success at a young age. My name is Jack, and my job is to explore their tools, actions, and habits to provide practical advice for you to use on your journey to becoming successful. I strive to provide listeners with inspiration that can be applied in your own lives, as I believe it is within the capabilities of any young adult to achieve exceptional success at a young age. Now let's jump in and learn some practical advice from the dorm room next door. Today I welcome Wilson Fonville to the show. Wilson is an undergrad at High Point University, and he's an incredibly disciplined and efficient young professional, with experience in sales, having already completed multiple professional selling internships. While in his final semester at college, Wilson is balancing his course load with his career, notably holding a position as Director of Operations for the American Society of AI. Wilson is also a networking pro on campus. He encourages face-to-face, genuine interaction with others, and I'm incredibly grateful to have him on the podcast today. In this episode, we covered a lot of insightful topics, but expect to learn specifically about Wilson's thoughts on fitness after a decade of experience, how he uses consistency and routines to achieve exceptional results daily, how he has become so disciplined and efficient in work and in school, how he balances hard work and fun times in college, how he eliminates distractions to increase his focus, and much, much more. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Wilson Fonville. Wilson, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Jack.
Awesome. I'm super excited. Just why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
My name is Wilson Fonville. I am a senior here at High Point University studying business administration with a sales minor. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, technically right outside Jacksonville, a little spot called Ponte Vedra Beach, but it's basically Jacksonville, let's be honest. I love just being able to be here with Jack and just talk a little bit about different things going on in life.
That's awesome. I know you're graduating a semester early, which is very crazy.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride the past year trying to figure things out. Do I want to graduate early? Do I not? But ultimately, I'm happy with this decision I made. And like Jack said, I'm going to be graduating in about 4 weeks from now, so that's exciting. Looking forward to it.
Just barely fitting you in here.
Exactly, right?
Perfect timing, as I would say. I know you guys can't see this at all right now, unless you're watching the video here, but my friend Wilson here, he not only is he super smart and very professional, as you all can tell, the sales minor, he's also pretty jacked as well.
I love the gym.
So Wilson, can you just tell us a little bit how you got started going to the gym?
I remember it was one day in 8th grade. I remember vividly. I think I was on the beach, and I came back up, and we went back to the house, and I was thinking to myself, I'm sick and tired of not being strong and not looking jacked. Although, I will say that hasn't been my motivation behind getting fit and taking care of my body is not just to look good. Ultimately, I remember that moment in time that kind of flipped a switch in my mind that was like, okay, I want to look at a little bit more into this. And I got to give a lot of credit to my dad. My dad's 6'4", 220, absolutely chiseled. He's a really big dude. So I always, saw him as a role model in my life and, wanted to be more like him in that aspect and regard. So really, I just went to him, talked to him about it, and told him, hey, I want to get into shape. I want to start lifting weights, taking care of my body. And he was like, okay, come to the gym with me every day. So really, from starting in 8th grade, I went with my dad to the gym every single day until I graduated high school, very consistently. And now, to this point, I haven't stopped. So really, I believe this is my 9th year consistently going to the gym, working out, and learning as much as there is to learn about bodybuilding, powerlifting, dieting, all these different things, which are very important. And sure, it's nice to look big, but it's also nice not only to feel good, but to feel healthy, to feel strong, and to feel athletic. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and I'm glad I got started on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I'm used to seeing you in the gym pretty much all
every
the
day
time now, which is awesome. I think that's a real testament to how consistent you've been with that, especially saying this is your 9th year of going to the gym consistently every single day. I mean, you're going on almost a decade here, so I think that definitely shows why you're tossing around a bunch of weight on bench press and deadlift every week very consistently, very easily.
Yeah, I think, what is it? They say 10,000 hours and you're a master
I think it's
at your craft.
10,000.
So I'm almost a master. I'm almost there.
You're
Just
almost
a little bit more to go.
you got the body so far to
Exactly.
and the weight that you got thrown up and down. I think
Exactly.
you're hitting it pretty well. Can you speak on how consistency in the gym has really just shaped the rest of your life as well? Because I feel like, in my opinion, like consistency is going to breed discipline, and I think discipline is something that's very important to not only have in the gym but also out throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'll start with kind of the gym and how that has helped me. Most people, fitness is a sensitive topic sometimes because most people are trying to find the perfect workout or the perfect diet, the perfect routine. What's the perfect split? Just knock all that out. If you don't have consistency, you will never hit your goals. You'll never become stronger, and you'll never be healthy. It's just unfortunate. That's just the way it is, right? So what I tell people is, don't focus so much on that other stuff. Just focus on consistency. You're not going to get strong in 6 months doing the natural way. You're not going to get, maybe not even a year, you're not going to see any crazy gains. Like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I didn't just start out, and a year after I was benching 250, right? It took a long time to get there. I remember when I first started, I couldn't even squat a barbell. I had to work with TRX bands to perfect my squat form, right? So I couldn't even squat a barbell, right? Now I'm squatting 300 plus. Consistency is the key. So for all of you guys starting out in fitness or, wanting to make that jump in any area of your life, all you got to do is be consistent. Show up every single day and just focus on putting in the work day in and day out, because eventually it'll pay off and you'll see the results. Once I kind of figured that out, and I'm still figuring it out in my life, how this all works, once I got a sense of understanding of how that translated in my fitness life, right, and started putting it into other areas of my life, consistency constantly will breed learning and growth. It's in anything you do, in school, in work, in the gym, in your diet. Being consistent is how you're going to see growth and how you're going to learn and continue to improve.
That's fantastic. Speaking on consistency, I'm a huge routine guy myself. I feel like I can be very consistent with something if I build it into my schedule and basically start doing everything over and over and over again. Are you a big routine guy, or are you kind of the person who just
I love a good routine. And I'll give you a little story, actually. I had a friend, and he was struggling to get things done throughout his day. And I was like trying to get to the root of the problem, wanted to help him out because he's a really good friend of mine. And it hurts me when my friends are struggling because I want to see them thrive and flourish. So we were talking about it. And then one night, I saw him on his phone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I'm going through my calendar for tomorrow to see, what I got to do." So I'm like, "Okay, let me look at your calendar and, check out." I pull up this man's calendar. He has about 50 things on his to-do list. Not joking. About 50 things on his to-do list for the next day. And then I stop and I say to him, "Dude, no wonder you're having problems getting things done. If I had this, I would be in this constant state of mental overload." In my life, I'm a huge routine guy, but I keep it very simple and very basic. For example, a day like today, I know I have class, and I know I need to work out, and I need to eat, and I know we had this session together. So what I did was I planned my day around, okay, I know I have class at 11, so that means I need to wake up at 8:30 so I can eat from 8:30 to 9. Then I can work out from 9 to 10, come back, get ready for class, do what I need to do to get ready for class, go to class, eat lunch, and then come to our podcasting session. So really, the small things throughout my day, those fill in around the big things, aka class, going to the gym, eating, and this would be a big thing. Our session today is a big thing. Don't focus on the small things. Focus on what are necessities that need to be done that day, and then the other stuff will trickle in. You'll find time to be able to do them. But really, to me, setting a routine.
So do you have like a planner for this routine? Like, are you writing stuff down or writing to-do lists or having some sort of like reminder on your phone or in your calendar, or is this all in your head most of the time?
My primary schedule's in my head. So I know I have class at X time on Monday, X time on Tuesday, X time Wednesday, so on. But for example, today I had to go get a haircut. Fresh haircut right now, baby. Love it. I had to get a haircut. So what I did, that's not part of my ordinary routine. It's what I would call extraordinary. So I just put that in my calendar in my phone, set the reminder, so I know, oh, okay, Tuesday, I got to get a haircut at 2:30. So I need to plan accordingly in order to get that done and to get the other things done that I need to get done. But for example, like my workout, my classes, when I eat, those are things just in my head. I know it's almost like this. I think of like my working out, for example, going to the gym is the same function for me every day as eating, or checking my work email is the same function as going to the gym. Right? They're all synonymous. It's just something I do. I don't have to second guess it. I don't have to look at it on a planner. I just know, boom, boom. I gotta wait. I gotta look at my email, see if there's anything urgent I gotta get to, or I gotta go to the gym, gotta get my workout in, or I gotta eat right now. But for extraordinary things like haircuts or the session we're doing, or maybe I got a meeting with a professor, a meeting with someone else, those go in the calendar. I set reminders to kind of help me plan accordingly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a big guy of basically everything has to go in my calendar.
Yeah.
I think that you might have been able to see that whenever I had you signing up for a session for this. I made it very easy for everyone, or at least in my opinion.
No, very organized.
Very organized and very easy. Everything that I have to do for pretty much everything has itself a folder in Google Drive.
Yeah.
Or it has found its way onto my Google Calendar that can be easily seen by someone else and picked out fine. I have my sleep in my Google Calendar a lot of the times. It keeps me very consistent. I'm
not that far yet.
I will say that's a little overboard.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've spoke on a couple other episodes at least so far, and I'm saying certain things I do, and I'm like, I need to give some context to a few of this stuff. Yeah. It's funny. The links that you can go to try and make sure that you're productive.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, the ball's in your court, right?
I think it's all matter of personal preference for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it is, because you're a very productive person. I'm a very productive person. Do I do the things the same way you do things? Not at all. Do you do things the same way I do things? Not at all, right?
Exactly.
But it works for both of us. So you kind of got to figure out, if you have an overarching theme of consistency, organization in your daily life, whatever you do, however that folds out practically, it'll be different for everybody. So we have those themes of organization, kind of efficiency, productivity in our life. But the way it folds out practically is different for me, is different for you. So you're 100% right on that.
It's one of those things where everyone lives their life differently, and why I love having people on this podcast and seeing a whole different array of the different ways that people do things. Yeah. We'll say it that way.
Just do stuff.
Because usually people have like one or two things that are really good in themselves. And I like having people on this podcast. I mean, it's called Exceptional Undergrads. It's taking people who do a couple of things really well and are very exceptional at those things, and giving them a platform to explore the ways that they do things and give people advice and have them be able to learn about everything.
For sure.
And that's what I really love about this, is I get to see all the different ways that people do things that are different than me, and yet we all end up accomplishing excellent things because of the way that we do stuff. Yeah. And it gives everyone a platform and a different way to see how everyone does different things, and maybe you can try different stuff and have success with it. That's the goal.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. I mean, kind of off of that, it's so true. Everyone has their own kind of way of doing things. So it is neat kind of to see, and, just getting to know you and talking to you all the time. It's neat to see, you have nothing on your home screen, but
that's
yet,
new.
That's for you, right? It works. And for me, it's like, that's crazy. I can't understand that. But for you, it works. So it's interesting. It's cool, to see different perspectives and how people approach things.
I think perspective is really everything nowadays, honestly. Everyone has a different point of view, and to be able to see things from different perspective is a fantastic skill to have.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about consistency, I mentioned beforehand that I feel like consistency breeds discipline. How do you think going to the gym and being consistent in your everyday life has made you a much more disciplined person?
I think it starts with the small things. Just waking up and they say making your bed. Right? But it's so true. Just starting with the small things, as small as just waking up and making your bed may seem, or waking up, I go work out. I get my workout done, and it breeds a sense of task and accomplishment. And when you have that sense of, okay, I got to do this, and then accomplishment, you get that done, right? It has that dopamine rush, in your head, and you get that, like, yeah, that's awesome. You get a great feeling, and it makes you want to do more and more and more. And that's kind of the drive I've had, not even just to get things done, but to see the payoff and to see how far it can take you. It's awesome. And for example, the way I structure my life through discipline, like when I get homework or when I get assignments, I just get it done. Like it's not something I second guess. It's just second nature to me. It's like I do this, I get it done. And it's not, it kind of lets you live in a sense of freedom, like that you're not weighed down by tasks, but tasks, you see them as good things that breed, good benefit and that breed positivity. Most people, sometimes discipline has a negative connotation. I think it has a positive connotation. I think it's wonderful when instructed the right way. So when you can kind of get that and figure that out in your life and whatever that form that means to you, it's really freeing. It's a lot of fun.
What actions have you taken to become a more disciplined person yourself? Because I know we talk about like being disciplined to be able to do tasks. Is there a certain way that you can get yourself to focus in and make sure that you get that homework done as soon as you get it?
It's a great question. I think a lot of where that comes from my perspective is I'm very thankful for the situations that I have because I'm not entitled to it. It's all a gift. It's all a blessing. So for example, being at school, it's like I get homework or I have to go to class and then, take notes. But it's like, why am I doing this? It's because I'm so thankful to be in this situation. Oh my gosh, I get to learn more about balance sheets or income statement or whatever it could be, natural science, environmental science. Like, wow, I get to learn more about that today. What an opportunity. I'm very thankful that I get to do that. Not a lot of people have that opportunity in the world. We're very blessed, even just here in America, even here at High Point University, to be at such a great school, to have great teachers. So my perspective has always been, and what, my grandparents have taught me, what my parents have taught me is every situation in your life, because it's all a blessing and you're not guaranteed to have anything, whether it's, doing school, being with my friends, being on this podcast, or saying yes to going out and getting ice cream. I take advantage of those situations because I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have that opportunity. So in regards to discipline in my life, I think it all comes back to Thanksgiving, and that's really the driving force behind why I do things. I don't do things out of fear. I do it out of gratitude for all I've been given.
Would you want to speak a little bit more on gratitude? It's more of like a driving factor in your life. Mm-hmm. How did you become a more grateful person? I feel like in my life, I was not super grateful, and then I started gratitude journaling daily, and I've become a much more grateful person. Is there any sort of actions or anything that you've done?
I come from a Christian family, Christian background. My dad's actually a pastor, probably America's most jacked pastor, to be honest. From a young age, I was always fed the gospel and Christianity and all these values. And I wasn't 100%, didn't know what they meant my whole life. But as I grew older and as I continued to listen to my dad and then also my grandfather, who played a major role in my life as well, a lot of it really just came back to gratitude because, and I'll explain that a little further. As a Christian, we live our lives solely based off of the grace that God has shown us in the gospel through Jesus. And as that trickled down into my heart and I came to understand what that means really on an eternal scale, it made life such a gift and such a blessing for the things that God has given to me in my life. Friendship, work, school, fitness, health, all of these different things. Really just, I would say, listening to the instruction of my family. I've been blessed to have such a great family, and my grandfather and my parents and my siblings, even my aunts and uncles. I just have a really great family, and I'm extremely blessed because of that. When you know how much you've been given, it makes you thankful and all that much more motivated to do the things set before you in life. I think that sums it up very well.
Would you say you're motivated by gratitude and just being thankful for opportunities?
100%. I mean, it's amazing. Literally, all of the opportunities in my life are not because I did anything, but merely because it was given to me as a blessing, as an opportunity to do something with it. Even being on this podcast, I did nothing to be invited on this, but it is an opportunity. It's a blessing to talk with you, share advice with people, to share a little bit about my story. So 100%, that's my motivation in everything that I do. And I try to, reorient myself whenever that's not the motivation. I try to reorient myself to get back on track following that role.
For people who are not the most grateful right now, and they feel like they're a little bit entitled to becoming successful and they're not taking the correct actions daily to make things happen for themselves.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give them?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people face that problem and that predicament in our culture today. I would say it all starts with humility. Your leadership starts with humility. People think leadership is just bossing others around, but really that's not it at all. And I'll give an example. When I was young, we have radio stations back home in Jacksonville, Florida, and the church, my dad's church is also in the building. So I've been going to the building where all these things happen for a long time. And I would go with my grandpa, and he owned the building. But whenever we would go, he would always be checking on the plumbing, making sure things look nice, scrubbing things down if something was dirty, opening doors for people. And it really just struck me, because here he is, an old man, very successful in his life, and yet he was here picking up trash, taking trash out, scrubbing dirty things, and it just set the example of, man, that's really what it means to be a leader. And when you lead like that, people are willing to follow, and people want to follow, because it's not about you, right? It's never about you. It's always about people around you in the mission. I think the first step, if you're wanting to be a more grateful person, is just humility, right? You got to recognize humility. People aren't going to listen to you unless you have that humility and you care. I go back to the Theodore Roosevelt quote that's often quoted. It just strikes me in the mind where he says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And if you don't have that aspect, that genuine aspect in your life, you're not going to go very far, and it's going to be an eye-opening experience for you.
Would you say you've become more curious the more you've become grateful?
That's an interesting point. I don't know if I've become more curious. Maybe curious is not the right word I would use. I would maybe use thought intentional. I've been more intentional with my thoughts. The more grateful I've become is because when I have these opportunities set before me, it's like, I want to do this to my best ability. I think curious could maybe work there, but I would say I've been more thought intentional and really thinking about how these things affect my life and how they affect others moving forward. I would say, yeah, I guess so. A little bit more curious, a little more thought intentional, though, definitely with my actions.
I know you've said a bunch about how you're super grateful for a bunch of the opportunities that you've had in your life. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see what you had to say about creating opportunities as well.
I think a major part of creating opportunities in your life is who you surround yourself with. My whole thing is surrounding yourself with good people, and good things will happen. And that's what I try to do on a day-to-day basis, because I know the alternative leads to bad things and to bad routes and bad roads, which is not good. It's not productive. It's not conducive to a happy life. When you surround yourself with professionalism and integrity and honesty and discipline, you start to see those same traits trickle down in your own life. And I think it's very true, and very evident in my life as well. Networking is a huge part, huge aspect of what I like to do and what I'm about, and just being with people and being honest with people. I think that creates great opportunities and will lead down many roads, because when you're good to people, people want to be around you. And it's interesting, the quote I live by, and my grandma told it to me as a kid. It's my favorite quote. And it goes, I went outside to find a friend, and friends were nowhere. I went outside to be a friend, and friends were everywhere. So in my life, I want to be that friend to everybody I meet and show them kindness and love, and that I care and that I'm interested to hear what they have to say. And for me, that has opened up many doors, and I'm really grateful that it has worked, and it's true. But it's literally just a change of heart, and it can be applicable for anyone. It's not hard to do. It's going out and caring about people, really.
Have you always been a very caring person, or is that something that you had to learn over time?
I think over time, I definitely learned to incorporate more of that into my life. As I became older, I started to see people really for who they are, and that everyone is valued, everyone is valuable, everyone's important. Listening to people is really how relationships happen, how relationships form, and how you can learn. I've learned so much from you. Like we talked about earlier on this episode, you do things differently than me. I do things differently than you, but yet I've learned so much from you and how to incorporate those principles into my life. I've not been like this my whole life. I wish I have. It would have saved me a lot of trouble as a kid. But as I've gotten older and continued to live by that quote my grandma shared with me as a kid, it's become more and more evident in my life, and I want to be more and more that person, not the person I was in the past.
How have you been able to create more opportunities here at college specifically?
I think the same principles that I live by are applicable anywhere. I think even when I go to the gym, for example, just talking to people. When I go to the gym, even just asking someone how their day is going or how they're doing, what they're hitting today, just having a little conversation, sometimes people, it really lights up their day and makes them feel valued, like, someone cares for them, willing to talk to them. And that's what I'm here for, and that's what I love to do. And it opens up opportunities, because now, you make connections, and you didn't know that they work in this and you work in that, and now there's mutual connection for something better. And it's really cool how it all works out. But I would say being a people person, and I don't mean that from an introvert-extrovert point of view, but mainly a mental point of view of being about people, caring for people, and wanting to hear, from people, having good, face-to-face interaction with others. That'll take you a long way in life. If you can build those skills now, whether you're going into business or whatever it is you want to do, that'll help you along the way to be a better people person and to connect with others and to make, to network, which is very important, especially in the business world.
Do you have any tips for everyone who's looking to network?
Yeah, I think take advantage of the opportunities given to you wherever you are. For example, here at High Point, we have business speakers that come and speak here in, I guess, once a month. Right, different leaders in the business world. And what I try to do is I try to go to those events, and after they're done speaking, I'll walk up to them and chat with them, maybe ask them a question about something in the presentation or something about their company or related in the business world, and just have a small chat and maybe exchange contact information. Even that small chat, that can leave a lasting impression for down the line. Maybe it seems insignificant now, but in the future, let's say you needed to talk to them or call them up, or you need a job, you say, hey, I spoke with you at High Point at the speaker series, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember you. And you have an automatic connection there, and that's part of your network. I think for me, it's wherever I go, I'm always just meeting people, and all the opportunities I've been given are because I networked with people, and that has brought great opportunities in my life to do pretty cool things. I would just say, even if it seems mundane or out of the ordinary or just simple, just go talk to someone, because you never know what they're in, you never know what they do, and it could bridge something you love to do, and now you have a great connection there. It could mean nothing, but I mean, at the end of the day, maybe they know someone that you in the future connect with, and that was a great relationship. You never know what could happen. So I would just always encourage people to go out of their comfort zone and connect with others.
You're very personable. Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips for people to start conversations with others so that they can start building their network?
If you're, like I mentioned earlier, you're at some form of event or a speaker, you can always use something that you liked from their presentation as kind of an intro to meeting that person. But if there was no speaker, no event, and you're at an event with business people or whatever it may be, I would just say, walk up to them and say, hey, I'm young, I'm in college, studying business. What advice would you give me as I'm searching for information about careers and entrepreneurship or, X product or X market? You can always find something that will spark their interest in. Essentially, what you want to do is approaching it from the point of view of, I'm coming to you for information, and I would like you to share a piece of information from your life with me. It's very easy, and most people overcomplicate it. It's not that complicated. I mean, in the end, we're all human. We all have the same emotions. We all have the same feelings. When you think about it, when you just relax yourself from that point of view and just look at it as a normal conversation, you want to learn and you want to grow and whatever it is that you're going to ask them about. It takes the stress away and the pressure and just makes it a really relaxed, kind of fun thing.
What role do you think that social media plays in all of this?
I think social media can be really good and also really bad. For example, I'll give you some good examples. LinkedIn, everyone loves LinkedIn. Sometimes it's a little bit redundant, but you can actually meet a lot of cool people on LinkedIn, and you can do a lot of whatever business you're in. You can make a lot of connections. People will often reach out to you. They have an interest in what you're doing as well. So that can bring out about really good things and great networking opportunities. But I would say oftentimes social media creates this facade that kind of takes away that face-to-face human interaction and makes it very transactional and not personal and not genuine. Oftentimes people judge people too quickly on social media to make them out to be something that they actually aren't, because they've made it up in their mind already that this is who they are, and that's it. I think that is a negative, and that affects people in a lot of ways. Then again, that's why I push so hard for the face-to-face interaction, to be personable with people, because the harsh truth is that in our culture today, there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of face-to-face interaction. There's not a lot of, genuine people, wanting to learn, young people wanting to learn and go to people who are more experienced than them and kind of ask questions. So that's why when you do that, you stand out from the crowd. You can differentiate yourself and put yourself in a better position to be successful down the line.
Do you have any mentors?
Yes. In life, my biggest mentor would probably be my parents and my grandfather. But I would say in business and professionally, my grandpa is definitely my biggest mentor, just because of the story he had and the lessons he passed down to me and what he taught me about business and leadership and serving other people and, having a mission and a reason to everything. I think he is definitely my biggest inspiration when it comes to why I do what I do.
You've been super disciplined, going to the gym and everything. And I just wanted to hear what you had to say about work ethic and how it seems to me you've been able to maintain a good work ethic throughout the years.
Yeah, man. I mean, work ethic is vital to getting things done and kind of being an efficient person. I like to think of myself as a very efficient person in what I do. I like to get things done, not only just to complete them, but I like to get things done very quickly. And I think I'm able to do that because of the motivation I have, kind of the work ethic instilled in me over the years doing a bunch of different things. I think sports played a big role in that. Going to the gym played a big role in that. Seeing my grandpa's work ethic in his life also played a major role in that. In knowing that good things come to those who work hard, and nothing is easy, because if it was easy, anybody could do it. And that's been a major theme in my life, is to kind of outwork everyone around me to be the best version of myself that I can be, and to pour into other people as well.
How do you balance working extremely hard on a lot of stuff while also having a fun time here at college?
Great question. I think there's a time and a place for everything. I think that's the answer. And honestly, throughout my day, I wake up, I work really hard in the mornings, getting my workouts done. And, it's not just an easy workout. I work really hard at my workouts, go to class, really paying attention in class, and then do all the schoolwork I need to get done in work as well. And then in the evening time, after I've worked really hard throughout the day, I give myself what I like to call rec time, recreational leisure time. So I'll just sit down and just do nothing, or watch a YouTube that I like to watch, or watch a movie. I'm big into Hallmark movies. Don't judge me. But I love doing those types of things that I like to do, like play basketball or go hang out with my friends, because there's a time and a place for everything. So once I can get things done that I know I need to get done for that day, I don't beat myself up and try to get more things done. I say, no, that was a good day, worked hard. Now it's time to have fun. Now it's time to be with my family, or, hang out with friends, or just do absolutely nothing and watch Hallmark movies, right? That's kind of the way I do things in my life.
How do you define the line between working hard and working smart? Or is there even a line?
I think there is a line, but I think the line is not as clear as most people think it is, because there's always a more efficient way to do things. And I'm a very logical person. I see things very black and white, not with color. I'm not very emotional, very logical. So the way I do things is like, does this work? No. Okay, I'm going to do this. This is the way it's supposed to be done. Or is this saving me time? No. Okay, I'm doing this way. Cutting that out. So I think you have to have a little bit of that in your life. But at the end of the day, if you're working hard, you'll figure out the way that things are meant to be done. Does that make sense? Right? If you're putting the effort in on something, it'll make sense to you. It should make sense to you if you're putting the work in, that, okay, this might not be the right way to do it. I'm going to do it this way. Because as you work hard, what are you doing in the process? You're learning. And learning means growth, hopefully. I would say, the line it's not super clear, but I think there is a line there, and there's always ways for things to be better.
You've talked a lot about being super efficient. How do you balance getting stuff done extremely fast, like the speed, with still maintaining good quality of the work that you do?
I mean, that wasn't always the case for me, right? When I first started out, I wasn't the most efficient. I wasn't the quickest. But over time, as I built these skills, as you become better at things, you become a lot faster at things, right? It's like riding the bike. If you ride the bike, you're not going to be able to go a mile very quickly at first. But after 5 years of doing it, you'll be a lot faster going that mile than you were when you started. And so for me, like one aspect of my life that I think is pretty cool is in class, the way I take notes. I'm a firm believer in notepad and pen. I don't like taking notes on computer or on iPad or anything. I think pen and paper is the way to learn the best, because it's proven that when you write something down, you retain it in your brain a lot quicker, a lot easier. For me, I became really good at note taking and what to write down, what not to write down. And it got to the point where if I showed up in class and I took notes the way I take notes, and I wrote things down right, and I kind of saw it as I was writing, I wouldn't even need to study for tests, because just by literally, I'm not even kidding, just by doing that mundane task, writing things down in a notebook, I would get A's on tests, just from writing it down in a notebook, pen and paper. And I don't say just writing things down to write them down, but really thinking intentionally about it when you write it down. Okay, why is the teacher saying this? Why am I writing this down? What is happening in class, right? Really focusing in on and paying attention. And I would sit in class. I wouldn't pull out my laptop. I would just go to class, sit down, open my notepad, get my pen out, and start doing my thing. And it helped me a ton. And I became really good at it to the point where I didn't have to study for tests, and I was getting A's because the efficiency was off the charts.
What steps have you taken to become more focused?
Really, I mean, discipline has a lot to do with focus and your intentions behind doing things. I mean, and like you said, technology is just killing that, because we can just go to class. I can open up my laptop, pull up the football highlights from the weekend and watch that and not pay attention to anything the teacher says. And then now I have to go back home, got to do the homework, but I didn't pay attention in class, so I have no idea what to do. So you fail the homework assignments, then here comes the test. You try to cram through the textbook for the test, you fail, and people are surprised, like, why did I fail? I wonder why. But really, you have to cut out distractions. You just have to. It has to be paramount in your mind. You have to cut out distractions. What I mean by that is, for me, I get really distracted by my phone and by my computer. That's why when I go to class, I don't pull out my computer. I pull out my notebook and my pen, and I'm locked in. It's like, okay, I am learning today for the next hour. It's about retail selling. That's what I'm learning right now, and that's what I'm going to be thinking about and writing down. You have to get in that mindset. You have to flip the switch, because if you don't flip that switch and you think, oh, I got class, it's boring, blah, 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 I'm just going to watch football highlights or whatever you like to do, online shopping, you have the wrong attitude. You have the wrong approach. But if you go into it as a blessing, as an opportunity to learn, to maybe apply it to something you do. Like, for example, my family's in media and radio, advertising. When I go to retail selling, I don't go to that class with the perspective, oh, I have to go today to learn about how to be a retailer or open up a shirt shop. But what I do go and pay attention for is a lot of clients we work with at the radio station are retail stores. So maybe by taking retail selling, I can learn more about the motivation behind the retailers and how they run their stores. And now I can better serve them from the perspective of my business that I have. You see what I'm saying? It's all about the change in perspective. Now this goes from a boring class, I'm never going to do that, I'm never going to work in that, to here's an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to apply it to what I do in my life to help other people. It's very simple. People overcomplicate things. So cutting out distractions and changing your perspective are the two most paramount things to increasing your focus and getting more out of what you do in your life.
I've taken many steps to cut out distractions in my life. Is there anything in particular that you would recommend to listeners that they can do today?
Yeah, I mean, at 8 p.m. every night until 8 a.m., my phone goes into like screen time, sleep mode, whatever it is. From 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., the only things I can access are my camera, my texting, my messaging, my calling, and FaceTime, and my calendar. Those are the only things I can access. Email is gone, social media is gone, the internet is gone. All that stuff is gone from my phone. I don't have it. The distractions are cut out. That's a very practical, easy way to kind of get in a focus mode. Maybe at that time you can work on schoolwork. Maybe you can work on something professionally that you're doing, business plan or whatever it is you do for work. With the distraction cut off and your phone not dinging every 5 minutes, you actually can focus on doing that. And what it does is it builds the habit of getting in to that mindset. So over time, you'll become more focused inherently. It'll just become part of what you do.
How have you switched up your mindset?
Kind of like I just said, I think you have to put situations in your life that teach you to think, and eventually it'll become natural. What is it? I think it's 20 days to develop a habit or something like that. Not exactly 20, but it's something along those lines, right? For example, if I want to read a page in a book every night before I go to sleep, if I do that 20 days in a row or however many days it is, after that 20 days, that'll be a habit that I now have developed. This is a great thing, but it can also be used poorly. We develop really bad habits and we develop them very quickly. What you have to do is you have to be really intentional on developing those good habits and setting those parameters in place that'll teach you over time to become more efficient or more focused or whatever you want to be. For me, it was talking to people more intentionally, forcing myself to get out of my comfort zone to talk to people, maybe at the gym or in the cafeteria or in class. For me, it was getting my notepad out, getting my pen out and saying no phone, no computer. I'm just going to focus and I'm going to lock in for class. Or raising my hand and asking questions in class to think about things more deeply and to be more thought-provoking. Those are habits I've developed over time because of the parameters I put in place to be able to learn how to do that. And now it's something that just comes natural to me. I would say like going to the gym. I don't have any second thoughts when I wake up. It's like, oh, should I go to the gym today? Should I not work out? Is it part of my schedule? No. When I wake up, it's like I have to work out. It's just a part of me. It's part of what I do. It's like I can't go a day without working out. I'd say I'm addicted in a healthy way, but I'm not obsessed with it. But it's good to have those habits in place, you know. So that's part of what I do in my life to kind of build those habits.
I think that something that people struggle with sometimes is they separate the different habits that they have into good habits and bad habits. It takes us like 21 days to form a habit of consistently doing it. I think that sometimes we end up having a bias towards the different habits that we're trying to form, and we think that these good habits that we're trying to form differ so much from the way that we implement bad habits in our life. I think if we cut out the words good and bad and cancel out the way that we look at everything and switch our perspective, then I think that'd be
100%
a lot easier for people to form habits.
Most people focus too much on problems, not solutions. If all you focus on is the problem, you're going to be very depressed, very anxious, very upset. But if you can focus on solutions and, like you just said, focus on habits, not necessarily good or bad, but habits, you can drastically improve your quality of life because it becomes a part of who you are and what you do. I would say to people out there, yes, it's good to acknowledge the problem and realize it's there, but don't spend most of your time focusing on the problem. Spend time building habits, focusing on solutions rather than problems.
Our brains have only gotten us so far in our life. So I think that it can be valuable sometimes to not trust our brain and instead trust the brain of someone who's done the stuff before us and already formed these habits. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I like to think of reframing my mindset to think of what would whoever do? Like, what would X do? Who's better than me at whatever this skill is? Mm-hmm. For example, this is off the top of my head. I've been reading a lot of books by this guy, Alex Hermosi, $100 million offers, $100 million leads. I like to think of sometimes whenever I'm making decisions, like, what would Alex Hermosi do? Or like, what would my dad do? Mm-hmm. To try and think of different ways to frame my mindset. Because if our mind's only taken us to right here and we're not satisfied with the place we are at in this certain skill or area, why wouldn't it be beneficial to look at people who are ahead of us and make decisions based on what we think that they would do to then eventually move us closer to where they are?
I think that's good. I think I agree with you 100%, but I also think that we need to be asking ourselves, why are we doing these things? Because ultimately, becoming more successful in business or having huge popularity among people, that's not going to give you happiness in life. And oftentimes people make that the object, the end means, not necessarily just a stop along the way. Like if life is a roller coaster, let's say it is, people see happiness or wealth or whatever it may be as the end goal in the roller coaster. But that's not the right perspective to have, because if you think that's going to bring you happiness in life, you're in for a rude awakening, right? You're in for a rude awakening, because ultimately, the more money you have, the more problems you have. Rather, we need to view it as stops along the way, because that's just what they are. They're not going to give us that ultimate fulfillment, right? You have to have your why. It's much broader. And for me, it's as a Christian, knowing that God has saved me, and that in the end, I'll live with him forever. That's my why. That's why I do the things I do, to be the best version of myself I can be because of the grace I've been shown. So I think for people, they got to figure out their why, and that'll make things a lot clearer and a lot more satisfying in life.
What tactics would you say people should try to be able to find their purpose or their why?
The most important question anyone can ask is, why do we exist? And what is the meaning? What is the meaning of life? If the meaning of life is just to get rich and buy a Lamborghini, that's pretty sad. That's a pretty sad meaning, and that's not going to give you happiness, right? Fulfillment. There's something bigger out there. As from the Christian perspective, God created the earth. God created me, gave me life, not because I was entitled to life, but merely as a gift. And because of that, I'm thankful, and now I can enjoy the earth, enjoy God's creation, and live my life to honor Him and to glorify Him by working hard in all that I do. That's my why, and it makes things a lot clearer why you do things, and kind of how you see people, how you see opportunities, and your motivation behind what you do. That's why from the beginning, my motivation is my gratitude and thankfulness of opportunities set before me that I get to walk into.
I would say from a more practical standpoint, in order to find out more about yourself and your why and your purpose, I think that you have to spend more time with yourself. We have so many distractions around us nowadays, to your point earlier. If anyone is bored at any time, you can immediately go on your phone and go on your computer and distract yourself with things essentially immediately.
Correct.
And I think that because of this, we've lost a lot of our authenticity as people nowadays. And what I mean by that is if everyone is doing the same stuff over and over and over again, that funnels us into a certain thing, like going on social media all the time or just being distracted by the internet a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Although these things are very good for us and you can learn a lot and grow from them, I think that taking a break and really sitting down with yourself, and whether that's through meditation or journaling or just sitting there and like staring at a wall for like a little while and just kind of sitting with your own thoughts, I think that's something that you can learn a lot about yourself rather than becoming very distracted all the time.
I think delayed gratification is much better than instant gratification. It makes you appreciate things a lot more. But we live in an age of instant gratification. No self-control, no discipline. These are things very foreign. But a practical step, like you were just saying, is just take a step back, cut out the instant gratification, say no, and just think about life. I think it'll help you clear your mind and kind of think about things from a more eternal perspective. And when I say eternal perspective, what I mean is life is bigger than just me. It's not about me. The world does not revolve around me. It doesn't revolve around you. That'll help you kind of get into that headspace and start thinking like that.
I think ultimately it's up to everyone individually to be able to take steps in their own character development of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that's really tough for people to see sometimes, mm-hmm. because whenever you're doing certain habits and actions and you're living your life a certain way, the easiest thing for you to do is to keep everything the same. And I've noticed that through trial and error myself, that if I add in more delayed gratification activities in my life, meaning things that are maybe not super fun right now, but afterwards I'm proud of myself for doing them, I become a lot happier person. My life has become a lot better overall.
Yeah.
And I think that the harder road is the road that needs to be chosen by a lot of people, because it's like what I've talked to people about beforehand, which is if you do what 99% of the people in this world are doing, you're going to get exactly what the 99% of people are doing. It's like the definition of insanity, trying to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And I see so many people, they're doing the same stuff and they're getting the same results and they're wondering why, when if they just took a second to reflect inwards and just question, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's really going on here? If they just took a second to take a step back, then they'd be able to see and do better in their life.
I think that sums it up very well, Jack.
Have you ever tried journaling or meditating or anything like that?
I've never tried journaling. I guess you could call prayer meditation. Can you?
I mean, I think
I don't want to be that guy.
I think it might be a form of meditation.
It's a form of meditation, right? I pray a lot. I pray every day, and that kind of helps me reorient my awareness and my why, and kind of invite God to make clear to me what he has for me today to walk into, switch my awareness that he is with me through everything, and the one powering me to be able to do these things, right? It's not me, it's him. So that has been really helpful, and that clears my mind and gives me a sense of freedom to be able to walk into these things, these opportunities I've been given. There's no stress or no pressure, because God doesn't put things in our life to make us embarrassed, to embarrass us, or to make us ashamed. He puts things in our life to show us his goodness and his faithfulness. And that's really getting to pray about that every day, and what that looks like is different each day. But I can say that where I fail, God shows up, and it's awesome to have that reality in my life and to see it happen.
What's your definition of failure?
I think failure is falling short of a benchmark, and failure does not mean you're a failure. Failure in something does not define you. If I fail in a test in economics, that doesn't mean I'm a failure in economics. You can always learn from your failures and your mistakes to do better. And I think that is a vital aspect of failure. You have to pair failure with learning. And if you miss out on the aspect of learning, then ultimately I would say that's ultimate failure. But failure does not mean that you are a failure. I think that's kind of how I would define it.
I've started to look at failure more as feedback.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Whenever you redefine failure as feedback, then you're able to learn and grow from what happens, what you quote unquote failed at.
Yeah, I think that's the right perspective to have. And, we need to encourage people to have that perspective. And as a friend, as a brother, when you see someone close to you struggling, and let's say they failed in something, you can encourage them in that to say, no, hey, I see it this way. This is how I see it. Maybe let's start doing this and not focusing on that. And you can help that person a lot. And, I think that's what we're called to. That's part of, what it means to be relational beings.
If you can go back to the first time that you stepped on this campus, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you tell your freshman year self?
The most important advice I would give to my freshman year self would be to be more intentional with people in relationships, and also to get involved more in things that are happening in my life. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes my way. Sometimes I would say no because I'm tired. I'd rather go home and watch football and go to bed than going to eat with someone. So I think being intentional with people, because at the end of the day, I think the most important thing we have in life is relationships. And without relationships, I think people are miserable, and they're very important to have. It's very important to nurture relationships and have good ones. I would have definitely, but I didn't know that my freshman year, right? That's something I learned as I grew and as I went through college. So I think that's the most important factor when going into college, is to nurture relationships, to be more intentional with people, and to love those around you.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. See you guys soon.
And there you have it, folks. We hope you enjoyed another episode of Exceptional Undergrads. If you found inspiration in today's episode, just remember that your journey to excellence starts with one action. Head on over to our website, exceptionalundergrads.com, for more resources and to stay connected with our community of exceptional achievers. As we bid farewell to our exceptional guest, Wilson, and the entire Exceptional Undergrads community, I leave you with these few takeaways. Discipline starts with the small things in life. Intention behind action breeds focus. Consistency is key in all things in life. Focus on being consistent with good habits first, and the results will follow. Leadership and gratitude both start with humility. Look inward and become a great friend first, and magically people will want to be around you more. Lastly, Be grateful for all the opportunities given to you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Exceptional Undergrads. We're always looking for new undergrads to showcase in future episodes. If you think you or someone you know is an exceptional undergrad, head on over to our website, visit the Apply Here page, and fill out the application showcasing your talents. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And as always, stay exceptional.